I made sure he lost everything. His job, his friends, his family's respect. And if you're wondering whether I regret it, I don't. I'd do it all over again. Twice as hard, twice as cruel. Because some people don't deserve forgiveness. They deserve fire. I'm 33 now. This happened 5 years ago when I was 28 and working at a mid-sized finance firm. At the time, I wasn't special. Not the loudest in the room. Not the most connected, just solid. Dependable. The kind of person bosses usually overlook, but not him. His name was Marcus, and Marcus noticed me. At first, I thought that was a good thing. Marcus was in his late 30s. Charismatic, smooth, the kind of man who knew how to make people feel small or important with just a glance. He'd slap people on the back in the hallway, joke around with executives, buy drinks for interns. Everyone said he was fun. Everyone wanted him on their side. But Marcus had a darker side. He was the kind of man who tested boundaries, who laughed when he made you uncomfortable, who never took no for an answer. And me? I was his favorite target. It started with little comments. You're too serious. Smile more. You'll never get promoted if you don't learn to loosen up. Then came the public digs. One time during a team meeting, he pointed at me and said, "Careful what you say around her. She's wound tighter than a nun." The room erupted in laughter. I forced a smile. My stomach twisted, but the real betrayal came later. I'd been working for months on a new strategy for a client, a bold approach that could save the account. I poured myself into it. Nights, weekends, everything. And then Marcus stole it. Word for word, he pitched it to the execs as if it were his own. He got praised, promised a bonus, a possible promotion. Me? He leaned back in his chair, smirked at me and whispered, "Next time, don't leave your files open." That moment? That was when I broke. Or maybe that was when I finally woke up. For weeks after, I couldn't eat. Couldn't sleep. I replayed that moment in my head. The laughter, his smirk, the way everyone looked at him like he was brilliant. And then something changed. I stopped feeling humiliated. I started feeling angry. Anger turned into obsession. I began watching him closely, not just at work, but everywhere. Marcus thought he was untouchable. That made him sloppy. He'd stay late, expense fancy dinners that weren't work-related, flirt with women in the office who looked uncomfortable, brag about shortcuts he took with client money. I listened. I documented. I built a case. Emails, screenshots, expense reports, whispered complaints from interns too scared to speak up. Every day my folder grew thicker. Every night my resolve hardened. This wasn't just about me anymore. This was about making sure Marcus never did this to anyone again. The final straw came at a holiday party. Marcus had been drinking too much. He cornered me near the bar, leaned in close, and said loud enough for others to hear, "You know, I could have promoted you months ago, but why would I reward someone who doesn't know how to play nice?" People laughed. I froze. That humiliation, it cut deeper than anything before. Because in that moment, he didn't just take my work, he took my dignity. And I swore I'd take everything from him. I didn't lash out right away. I couldn't. Revenge that big requires patience. So I spent 6 months setting the stage. I leaked little pieces of information anonymously, enough to raise eyebrows, never enough to trace back to me. A client got curious about inconsistent numbers. HR received an anonymous note about inappropriate messages. Finance noticed unusual expenses. Marcus brushed it off, charmed his way through. But I kept pushing until finally the cracks began to show. If you think I'm cruel, maybe I am. But let me ask you, if someone stole your work, mocked you in front of everyone, and treated you like garbage, would you really just let it slide? The climax came during the firm's biggest deal of the year. Marcus was leading the pitch. Flashy, confident, smug. What he didn't know? Half the numbers in his deck were false. Not because of me, but because he'd been cutting corners for months. I just made sure the right people saw it. I sent an anonymous email to the client the night before, attaching proof of the discrepancies. I CC'd compliance, HR, and the CEO. The next morning, chaos erupted. The client was furious. The CEO demanded answers. HR pulled Marcus into a closed-door meeting. By the end of the day, Marcus was out. Not resigned, not moving on, fired, disgraced, blacklisted in the industry. The office buzzed for weeks. People whispered. Some defended him. Most didn't. Because once the facade cracked, everyone had a story. The jokes, the harassment, the arrogance. It all came spilling out. And me? I kept my head down. Quiet, innocent. No one ever suspected me. I watched him pack his desk, face red, jaw tight, muttering under his breath. And I felt relief. At first it was sweet. The justice, the satisfaction, but revenge is messy. Sometimes, late at night, I remember the look on his face. Not smug, not cocky, but broken. The same look I once had when he humiliated me. And I wonder, did I become him? But then I remember the laughter, the stolen work, the holiday party. And the answer is simple. No, I didn't become him. I became worse, and I'm okay with that. Still with me? Cool, because here's the truth. Sometimes I think about Marcus more now than I did back then. Not because I regret it, but because I wonder if I enjoyed it too much. It's been 5 years. Marcus never recovered. He tried freelancing, failed, tried consulting. No one would touch him. Last I heard, he moved states, started over in some tiny firm. But his reputation, destroyed. Forever tied to the scandal. And me, I got promoted. Not overnight, not dramatically, but steadily. Because without Marcus blocking me, people finally saw me. And yet, sometimes I catch myself smiling when I hear someone boast too loudly. When I see arrogance, cruelty, ego, because I know what they don't. I know that quiet people aren't weak, we're patient, we're dangerous. So, yeah, I made sure he lost everything, and I'd do it again. Because revenge isn't just payback, it's survival.